This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we're officially bringing the Audit and Finance Committee meeting to order.
Lots of luck.
Okay, in the interest of time, I will skip Chairman's comments. Minutes for October 13th provided to all of the board members. And look for any comments or questions on those or a motion for approval. So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Payment of the bills, as you have in your packet, unless the staff wants to point out any anomalies, it doesn't look like there's anything out of the ordinary here. We need a motion to approve payment of the bills.
So,
second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Review of financials. Jody, I noticed you have the, I guess, both Megan. Jody, have the financial statements in, profit and loss in the balance sheet, and copy the budget. Is there anything that you've discussed or modified from the last time we reviewed the budget? Anything that we need to look through, or does the rest of the board have any comments or questions?
the separate email about the two debts.
Yeah, so Jim is still obviously reviewing loans, but since we're not getting any payments, he just said, do you want me to keep sending the loan to you? Because the balance remains the same on both of those, and neither one is making any payments. So I just said, that's fine. He's doing it remotely now. He's not coming in, so.
Yes.
So unless any of you want it, I mean, I can keep sending it. I believe it might be. Might not be.
You're talking about the theater in Foothills?
Yeah, the theater in Foothills, yep. I mean, I know that Foothills is 100,000, the theater, I want to say is about 84.
86 or something.
Yeah, something around
Just another quick one. Any response, Jody?
No, absolutely not.
Did we send something?
Yeah.
You did?
About over 2 weeks ago.
To both of them or?
No, just-
Oh, okay.
If you want to discuss that, we probably should.
Go to executive
Yeah, I think
session.
I did something. Yep.
Yep. Which we can do at the end if you like.
Yeah.
So any questions, comments on the financials? Jody, anything to point out on the budget?
No, we actually had a decent one. That profit 31,000 for year to date, just a little under 15,000 that were in the red on. One more than that. Choose CRC, their shares.
Okay, thank you. New or unfinished business? I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session.
For the purpose, we gotta state, for the purposes of.
For the purposes of contract, debts,
Personnel. Yeah.
This conference will now be recorded.
all right, we should report there's no action taken in executive session. And I think that is it for the Audit and Finance Committee, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
It's very peaceful. I love it. I think I'm gonna go my lawyer.
All right, we'll move into the projects committee meeting. I will forego the chairman's comments. Everyone received the October 13th project meeting committee minutes. Any questions or changes needed for those? Now I'll take a motion.
Go vote.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving into the project trackers, we do have 3 project trackers. Joe, if you want to walk us through any highlights there, or let's start with Richfield Springs since that's first in line.
On the Oneonta rail yards, we did talk to the construction company that did the grading. Meanwhile, we're trying to will be coming back to re-level the property, and they will see if they can move the remaining trees.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to refer to what you just said.
I said they do plan on coming back and re-level.
We're done.
The rail yard?
The real.
Oh, the construction.
And they said, didn't have completion, that they're trying to do a lot.
This is as a result of those moguls or whatever that were left, they're just gonna fly, okay.
The 95% of what they needed to do is done. This is a easy finish.
No cost to us, they're coming back to level it, all done.
And
Okay.
then we'll give us a approximate estimate to re-level the rest of the property.
The part they didn't use.
Of course. The part they didn't use.
Where is that? Just out of curiosity.
Feet.
Is it wider than what they use or deeper?
It's probably another 30 acres.
You're talking about the rest
The rest of the rail yard.
Oh,
Whenever
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a good thing for us to do. I mean,
Absolutely.
since we did that with that one property down there, it just looks so much more appealing.
Yeah,
Curbside.
more presentable.
Yeah, and if you go through, I run through the rail yard quite a bit. When you go, it's just everything between that road and the rail yard is just all scrub. It's just crap, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There's one or two good trees I've noticed that we was going to keep, but the rest of it we could just clean out and level, which I think would be much more appealing.
We have a chance to market it. It actually looks like a
Exactly.
clean, open.
Exactly. Because people can visualize that and say, oh yeah, it's my building right there.
Yeah, it also it'll be obvious what is part of the rail yard. And what isn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a mess.
Now, also at the, my table yesterday with a group of, only the historical group,
Glad I didn't go.
along with Bob, but they were on their way down for it. The city was gonna put in a historical marker
Yeah.
in terms of the roundhouse. Is that on our property?
So they called yesterday. It was going on our property, but I guess they were down there with Wayne and Kevin Truckerson and they decided to put it on their property. But the city was also 45 minutes late to install it, so I don't know if it actually got installed. So hopefully it got installed.
I'm sorry, I was curious about.
Yeah, it's going right where Fonda and Roundhouse Road meet, kind of right there on the corner, instead of in front of the Roundhouse.
Yeah, but be more
You see
visible
it.
to the public.
We should all be ready, folks.
I got other things to do.
Now, does that become a
Lightsabers.
lasting hysterical marker that can never be moved? So if we want to develop the land, we have to.
Well, we
work
told
on
them, that, we want to develop that property, and so there will be potential that the road.
I mean, we want to respect it and put it in a
Marker
nice
could
place, but maybe somewhere, someday.
Yeah.
we'd like
Well,
to
if it's on
flex
the Trefethen property,
Okay.
it doesn't matter to us. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we were involved because it was going on our
Well, actually, it's more visible to anybody.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a marker for where the roundhouse used to be?
it. No, it says there was one near here.
Yeah.
So
So you come and go, I can almost see it.
Yeah. Well, I said you guys could put it in front of where the Roundhouse was, but you can't drive down.
nobody will get there.
You don't
Nobody-
want to. So the decision was to move it forward closer to.
Sadly, I sat down at my way here and never saw it.
We got like a grant
I wasn't looking for it.
to put the marker out there. So we
That
weren't
was
really
major
involved
new
except to say,
tourist
yes, you can put it on our.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, God.
Anything else on the rail yard?
She sighed
Hey.
heavily.
Where would you like to go to next? Richfield Springs?
Richfield Springs.
Why don't we go there?
Sorry, maybe.
You mean you love this project?
We did respond to EDA, we got the construction, RFP for construction managers, we sent them back. They indicated that they approved the construction manager. So we actually are out to bid right now for the proposals for that. We did send in a revised certificate as to project site right of way and easements. And one of the new issues is that EDA does not like how Kurt Schulte put together the ownership issue. And what he's saying, what they claim is they've never received an abstract or a title insurance policy as proof that we own something. And so Kurt is trying to respond to that right now.
So we didn't have those details?
We did, because we paid for it.
Yeah, I
Couple
thought,
months ago, we
yeah, I was gonna say that
There's
came
not-
up and I thought it was done.
Right?
There's,
Yeah.
An abstract is the chain of title. That's what
Right.
the whole thing is, and any record of liens.
I mean, the IDA's owned that thing for how long, how many years?
Hmm?
I mean, how long has IDA owned that piece? Probably 20 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not an
Oh, if we don't,
unreasonable.
No, no, I thought we had done this. I thought we had this conversation.
No, but that's not,
He's got
it
time.
is kind of unreasonable to get that 40-year abstract and say it. That's what it is.
Well, what we're
I'm
talking
not
was
seeing
under
it.
part two, the title opinion section, it appears that the attorney is relying on a title insurance owner's policy to confirm that
He did, that was our conversation. He said there was some,
it is not normal practice for EDA to accept this type of attorney certification and generally not acceptable without additional information. EDA will need to be provided a copy of the insurance policy, which I got yesterday from Kurt.
Great.
And to identify a time frame that he left out, which is for a period of at least 40 years.
So they're going to review the title insurance policy, which if they review it, it may very well answer the question, right?
But it's just that every step, there's another step that you gotta take with EDA. It's just an never-ending battle.
we're looking for a lot of money, so. Should be right.
In the meantime, we are out to bid,
Correct.
so it's not
Well, they
going to
would
slow
have
down.
known property.
I think that's fundamental.
Bid on construction yet.
No, the construction manager
Yes.
is up.
Who is it? Who's the construction?
We did send, I'm sorry,
Did you decide on the construction?
No, but the RFP's going out for bid.
we sent it to
Okay.
11 firms. 3 firms have indicated that they're not in a position to respond to it at this time. So there's still another 8 firms out there.
Okay, sorry.
Which means that the timeline hasn't changed.
Right.
Despite this snafu.
EDA also received the final drawings from Keystone about a week ago. They reviewed those. They've got some minor issues they want to correct, and they're ready to go to construction or to issue a construction proposal. So that's where we are with that. That's actually somewhat moving. Just it seems like every day is a new issue.
Can you remind us what Keystone estimate was
Their
for the construction?
Their actual construction estimate is like $1.9 million. The total project was 2.4 million. That includes fees, contingencies, also includes attorney fees, things like that. Now,
It is in the budget and funding.
yeah, we've also requested through the Appalachian Regional Commission another $500,000 in case there's a cost overrun, because it's been now a year and a half.
Mhm.
And the Department of State indicated that they were going to recommend approval. We should have that sometime in January or February before we actually start.
This is, I mean, they dealt with this for years, you know, the percentage of total cost of construction that you pay architects and engineers. Then you have a private testing company to come and do compaction tests before they can put the pipe down. It's just, it goes on forever. Oh, well.
When was the Keystone estimate provided?
About 2 years ago.
Ooh,
It's not good.
ooh.
That's not good, probably.
No.
Every project that we're
Oh,
looking
my
at
God.
across every
50% or
region
more.
we have, is seeing significant increases. So I don't know.
Well, they revised the estimate about a year ago. They claim that it's still a good number.
Is it? It wasn't a contract, it was an estimate, right? So it's, but, okay.
You're gonna be
The
shocked.
goal is to be high always on the estimate, but not too high. And then you build in, seriously, you build in construction inflation, but then you build in contingency in there also, because you may run into some kind of rock formations that make it more. So good companies that have been doing these things for years, you find that their estimates are pretty good, and that they build in those contingencies. But, you know, this is really simple.
This is excavation.
I
and
was-
pipe,
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's
right?
not
It's not a
structural,
lot of
so
The
it's
cost of the pipe could have gone
Yeah.
up,
Also, the pipe could go.
and it may not be pipe.
EDA did request a revised cost estimate from Keystone, and they revised it and sent it back at the same price.
Okay,
Great.
They just changed some of the numbers.
And that was a year
that
ago.
was a year ago?
No, that was about a month.
Okay. Okay, that's good. All right, that's where I was driving.
And that's good that we'll get another $500,000 from the Appalachian group.
Yes.
Then that will be a buffer.
We
We may need.
significant cost increases everywhere. That's why I brought it up, but that's great that you just did that a month ago.
Mhm.
So that's what's going on with Richfield Springs.
Wait, question?
Yep.
The last time we spoke about Richfield, there was a debate between the village and the town or the city, and whatever the municipalities were about who owned it, and who was gonna be responsible for maintaining. Where does that lie?
All right, that was part of my discussion with Joe Scott yesterday. He was trying to get a phone conversation between all the attorneys for Friday. I said, Joe, Friday's a holiday, you're not gonna get it. So they're rescheduling it for Monday. He's already indicated to them that the concept is that the town will own all the piping once the project is complete.
Because they get the revenue. Which is kind of what we talked about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
That makes.
Want to go Richfield? Innovation Center.
Innovation Center, really, there's a lot of jockeying going on. College.
A lot of what?
Jockeying.
Oh, jockeying.
Because move it over to park. We have a gigantic room that's an innovation center.
We already shot that
We
down.
don't have anything in it, but we could use your $150,000 to put equipment in.
We already said no to last time. So.
Um,
They're jockeying for where to put the innovation center?
Yes.
Well, and they-
No,
they're
so
looking
Hartwick
forward.
has a program
Mhm.
on their campus. So they essentially want us to just fund their
No, I
innovation
understand- I
center on
understand.
campus.
What they're trying to do.
Yeah, and we said no last time, so not even a discussion point.
And we have another meeting in a week to see where we are.
At what level are those discussions with Hardwick? With that, is it well?
Yeah, it's Mike Walsh, he's their innovation center director.
Mhm.
They hired an innovation center director, because they don't have a program.
Is he supposed to build one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the chief of staff of the
Alberto made comments yesterday, Patricia, you were probably there for that. Jim was there, talking about the continued cooperation, which is a very unusual for him to say that with that venue, although he's talking to a whole lot of group. But my understanding is that Darren and Alberto are talking regularly. And so
Absolutely.
any idea of locating it at either one of those campuses is really out the window. You're
Neutral territory.
Yes.
So that's a non-issue as far as that.
Yeah.
We would let them help us as much as they can.
Yeah, so if they want to come to us,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they both want to put a presence on Main Street downtown.
Yeah.
It's a good start.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the pitch was back, essentially was,
Yeah, it was
we're not coming to you, but if you want to come to us.
Dave and I were at the Darren Reesberg's inauguration ceremony, and Alberto spoke there. I've
Yes,
never seen
it
that
was
before.
really,
But,
really nice.
yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah.
kind of interesting. He was one of the.
They
last
very,
three.
very much collaborate. So
Yeah,
maybe it's
yeah.
getting them both together and saying, what can they do with this
I
innovation?
know when
Hartwick
we
doesn't
started
have
this,
the money, so
there
I
was
don't know.
discussion about building an innovation center or using it to acquire this building or whatever the options, but wouldn't it be interesting to have a collaborative effort that moves something downtown,
Mhm.
whether it's this building or not?
I suggested that at our last meeting, is why doesn't SUNY, Hardwick, and our office all buy a building? And I said, I'm not tied, if we get this $1.3 million, I'm not tied to that, we have to own the building. I'll give that money to SUNY and we have to buy this building. Because they have maintenance there.
That's
But
good.
I think it's a discussion with Darren and Alberto, not with their chief of staff.
Speaking of
That
one-
conversation really has to be at that level and that volume, and then they'll have their folks do it. But this is the best time of ever. They talk all the time.
Do you have to own it?
Do they have to own
We could
it?
lease it to them. It might be easier for them on their side of all the.
No, I'm thinking a partnership. If you had a partnership with private and all of our entities to enter into a very long-term lease
Yeah, that's cool.
in a space downtown, do we and do we have to own it, or could we enter into a 50-year lease
With a private line?
with the private owner?
Yeah. Using, so this 1.3 million, right? That's the deadline of that is really close, is it not?
I'm expecting now that the election, that nobody will make an announcement before the election.
Usually we like to make announcements before.
I know.
I always get.
That's split, yeah.
And the 1.3.
Retired senators.
That's good. You're not taking my advice.
But I think the announcement is that there's not a lot of money, that they're probably only going to award 3 projects. So they don't want to tick off a
Well,
lot.
Yeah.
For every announcement you make,
So
you're
that's
happy people, yeah.
So essentially, we need to wait and see.
Right.
If you have
What happened?
unhappy people.
Winners and then they're losers.
So my question with that was like, you were pursuing, obviously hiring somebody to run the innovation center, and I guess trying to understand where that stands at this point in time. So I wasn't able to catch up with you last week. And I guess the timing, I think Dave, you brought it up, the timing of hiring somebody without understanding building, but I know you've talked about actually just using this building to actually begin that kind of office space in collaboration with custom.
Right. The ARC grant, which is the $150,000 grant that we received, that would be paying for the center director for a year and a half, identifies that the innovation center will be in our one conference room. And that's how we wrote the grant, that we would have workstations put up there that would allow people to have space for 3 or 4 weeks until they moved on to custom or move on.
So it's the incubator for the,
Right.
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
And that's the original concept. So we're still proceeding on that.
Okay.
Interviewing somebody on Tuesday. I have a phone interview with somebody this afternoon.
Hey,
And
If we go into, we have a brief executive session.
well, that's when we talked, when we got the big dollars.
Yeah, let's have a little executive session. To discuss that personnel issue.
so move. Or did you move?
Oh, no, we
Do
don't.
you want to do it at the end of the meeting?
project.
You want to do it at the end of the end of the meeting? Or do you want to do it?
Sure,
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll come back to that then. All right, so we'll quickly just take a look at the director's report. If there's anything, Jody, you'd like to highlight there. I don't think there's anything major, but if anyone has any questions.
What's interesting is the county appropriation next year for our agency is just listed as $175,000. It doesn't break down that where the money's coming. So I'm hoping that we can push the county to continue that level. Although I'm sure Andy will say that's not like.
Jody, I can't quite hear you. What are you hoping on the 75,000?
Is the way that the tentative budget was put out by the county was it lists our appropriation for next year at 275,000. It doesn't identify where that money's coming from. And I'm hoping that next in 2024's budget, they just continue that 275,000. And I said, more than likely, Andrew won't agree that that's necessarily going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, budget is year to year, so you're not going to be able to get any kind of guarantee on that until the budget process starts in 2023 for 2024. So you basically be wasting your time to make that kind of request.
It should be $500,000.
Should be 1% of the county budget.
It's interesting though, because like, I mean, yeah.
Would you spend 1% to develop business in your community?
Right. Andrew, I mean, I think that's something for you to think about as in your role, is understanding like, if we don't have guaranteed funds kind of year over year, how are we supposed to operate, right? Like, how are we, so, and I know it's not, I'm not yelling at you.
The other option would be a contract.
Yeah, that's what, yeah. Sorry, Andrew, what was that?
Yeah, the other option, like, I mean, almost every partner for the county has year to year. like almost everyone, except for ones that have pass-through funding that are tied to state contract, where a funding source comes from New York State, it's a multi-year contract, or there's a vendor that has a contract for multi-year. So that would be the other option, to actually ask about a multi-year contract, where the IDA is like a scalable contract, which, again, could be that could be something to discuss in 2023, starting in 2024. But I mean, that again is going to be tied to the budget process, but you could start that conversation in 2023, with 2 or 3 years in mind, so the IDA knows, okay, here's the commitment we're going to get for the
Right.
next 2 to 3 years. That
Yeah.
I think would be the best approach, and that would be my suggestion. It's because otherwise there's no way you're going to get any kind of guarantee unless it's a multi-year contract. And I just want to point out, even with a multi-year contract, the contract always has out clauses. So it's, because that's exactly what happened with destination marketing. We zeroed out funding, and anyway, that was COVID. So that was a different circumstance. But I'm happy to bring the idea for a multi-year contract. I think it's perfectly reasonable. And it would be a much better approach.
Yeah,
All right, good
I
idea.
think we agree.
Thank you, Andrew.
Really quickly, Systematic Power Systems, I had a long discussion with Amy Vogel about the documentation we need, and they agreed that that's public supply. And basically, they could do a drawdown right now for about $300,000 because they've retained 21 positions. But I said, you also need to show me documentation of the match of the equipment that you're buying. So they now understand that and are working to it. Great. Brooks Bottling, we got permission from the town last night to file a reapplication for their project. They have about $1 million, $1.1 million in equipment needs to expand their bottling plant operations. They started with 3 people in the bottling operations. They're currently up to about 45. And they want to add another 12.
Were you at that meeting last night?
Yes.
Oh, I almost went down to.
He slept in his car.
Did the town talk at all about expanding the water and sewer line?
I don't know. I didn't stick around for that.
There's a conversation,
meeting
consensus that they're gonna figure out a way to do it.
There is a meeting in 2 weeks.
You're involved probably.
Still get it done. We've been talking about this for 7 years, at least I've been here.
Goes way.
Everyone's everyone thinks it's great.
Right, and then, yeah.
So it's been,
Who's gonna?
What's on the
Yeah.
website?
There's a meeting on sewer and water at 9 o'clock.
22.
Today.
9 a.m.?
Yeah.
Okay.
One second.
I've been working on a somewhat confidential project on a Cooperstown housing project, at the advice of the chairman of the projects committee. I am not getting heavily involved in that, but I did reach out to a company, a company out of North Carolina that I've worked with in the past that are basically housing developers.
Should this be executive session?
No, okay, because I'm not naming what we're doing.
Okay.
And the issue here, though, is that they recommend using what they call essential function bonds. And that's a new type of method in investing in housing projects or workforce housing development, because it doesn't require income. So you don't have to have one. It just does straight market rate housing.
What is that a test of the market for a lack of housing?
Yeah.
Period.
So the problem is, because I had a discussion with Joe Scott on this, because I said, I'm not that well, and he wasn't well versed on this. He had to have another attorney look at it that have been involved in it. They said we could use a 501c3. When I talked to Jim Sorry about it in North Carolina, he says, no, you can't, because once you use a 501c3, then you are stuck with law and order limits, because you need to have the government, county involved. And what they've done in the past is they've had a county housing authority work on those. We don't have a county.
We don't have county government, so.
Now, it wouldn't be hard to create one, and I did have a discussion with the city housing authority saying if we created a county one, would your staff run it? Because I don't want to have another staff, more people and billings and they were.
I already feel like this is bigger than what you need to be involved in. I don't know if you guys agree, just trying to focus on the reality of it, the
Yes.
economic return, our role in that, it already feels like we're taking on
Is-
too much, given the resources we have available.
Is Sari wanting to come up here and do this, or they?
Yes, he would like to do a project. Well, how I met him was we were working on a project in Amsterdam. He's up in New York State quite a bit for development projects.
They're doing a big one in Schenectady as well right now.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
a contractor.
All solar, all,
He's
everything,
Nice,
Develop.
nice,
Somebody else.
Schenectady.
all greenhouses.
Is,
Oh, wow.
would,
That's it.
in sequential, to get it done right, get in there and keep it there. I mean, should there be conversations with, that we're trying to set up with the county government and or the village of Cooperstown and where you're in and out and, because obviously sewer and water are gonna connect to this. So you gotta be within one of the municipalities that has that. You're not gonna do wells and septic on a project that's gonna be big. I mean, it's just not.
It already
He said
has water.
specifically
Okay,
that
I know where the lot
Where he
is.
wants to be?
Yeah.
A lot, with a lot.
And it's specific for long-term workforce housing. Not converted to support the tourist trap.
No.
So who
Is there a shortage in Cooperstown?
big
Oh,
time,
God, yes.
big
Oh.
time,
It's shortage everywhere.
very expensive.
It's all like
and
short-term
it's
rentals.
shortage. My only question is, who steps in to be the contact with them?
I mean, I think Joey's the conduit, but like, right, you gotta bring the other parties together, right? You're just
Yeah.
facilitating.
Oh, absolutely.
Ultimately, it'll be with the, we won't do that involved. We bring him up and introduce him to
Yeah.
the players. His expertise is really in knowing nationwide investors that will invest their money into these.
Is, I mean, in Cooperstown, Bassett is in dire need of housing support. I'm wondering if there's somebody on the development staff for Bassett.
If you know anybody involved, you should ask.
Hmm?
You know anybody involved?
Here's the guy right here.
Oh,
Anybody on the Bassett
where do you work?
staff?
What?
We tried to get out.
Seriously, anybody on the, because he wants to do this exclusively in Cooperstown. Out in the housing,
Yes.
that would be the perfect.
Yes. Okay.
I think that's where you're.
Yes.
So, really quickly moving on,
Hi, Deb.
we're supposed to get the closing, pilot agreements on the ZABE project sometime next week. We expect to close on that sometime in December. And then the last one is Centrome Advanced Biotech. That project has gone from $5 million to $14 million.
This is the Medico building.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're projecting now not finishing until December 31st, 2023. So we are holding a public hearing on November 28th to revisit that issue and look at increased benefits to them, primarily sales tax.
That's good news.
Is it employment count going up? Or just the employment count going up? Or how many people? Are they hiring more people or just more tech equipment?
Well, originally they hired, I think, 8 to 12 people. I'm not sure in the out years they will talk about. Ultimately, but that isn't on the phone yet.
Which will be part of your
But they still
package when they come back for the
We're gonna
14th.
ask them to fill out the package.
It's a pretty significant increase.
My garbage. Nothing.
I know.
Yeah.
Great.
So that's a little line.
Okay. Any other new or unfinished business?
Is there been,
Executives.
You have something?
someone is talking to me about, once again, cycling around the interest in some people in the city and out in the IDA only airport. So we have way too many things. We'll put that off to 2 years from now.
I've told numerous people it's a dead issue for us. So bring it forward.
otherwise we'll have to try to be polite and say what we're doing.
Yeah, really beautiful NYCM branch office up there.
Yeah, no.
Overlooking, you know,
But once again, so I mean, for me, I agree with that. If you see an economic opportunity developments or something to do with it, to grow jobs, you know, tell me why. And I would look at it.
Yeah, we've done so
Well,
many
we have to
studies
have
on
more
that.
people and, you know, it would be a hard sell.
Yeah, Dave just wants to talk to you.
All right. Do I have a motion to go into executive session
So
for the purpose of personnel and salary?
Personnel and various other topics.
Do I need a second?
Dave first, so you can be second.
All right.
This
Do I know-
conference will now be recorded.
Have different.
All right, we are out of executive session. No action was taken. I think we are done with the meeting. Does anybody have anything further?
adjourn.
Thank you very much, Dave.
All right.
Hard to corral,
Get some, because I fall over, you could point, really.